What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check update, the two new upcoming stimulus packages and infrastructure package, as well as what is going on in the world today. In this episode, we have several different things. We're going to hear about the infrastructure package. We're going to talk about multiple different stimulus check and stimulus money programs coming out in the near future, possibly for you, as well as a good update on the fourth stimulus check itself. As you know, if you've been watching this channel, there's a lot of different other programs besides just the fourth stimulus check on the horizon, and I got a lot of them to talk about with you today. But first, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on future updates on all these new upcoming stimulus programs, as well as the next stimulus package, the American Families Plan, which is expected to have a fourth stimulus check. All right, don't forget to hit the like button and let's jump right in. First, we're going to hear from Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell on a new proposed change from the Biden administration where the IRS can actually go directly into your bank account. Yeah, pretty scary stuff here, as well as info on the next infrastructure package. Here we go.
So-called infrastructure plan and all the damage that's going to do. But Senator, on this IRS announcement today, now we know about the $80 billion, and we know they think they're going to collect $700 billion. I don't believe a word of it, by the way. But today they said they're going to dig in, they're going to propose greater enforcement, quote unquote, and start digging into your bank account. That the IRS can just go right into your bank account to look at all the transactions. They also mentioned cryptocurrencies for the same purpose. Now, isn't there a law or the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution or something that says that the IRS cannot just go in and look into your bank account or any other darn thing?
Well, if there isn't, there ought to be. I mean, it reminds me, and you'll remember this, when the IRS was going after conservative groups who had 501c4 status and harassing them and making it difficult for them to get qualified for that tax-exempt status. Yeah, we don't need an IRS snooping around in our records. They ought to be able to do their job without that.
And then the other part, Senator, is it has been reported that the Senate parliamentarian will rule all this IRS stuff out of order for reconciliation purposes. Now, it's been scored as $700 billion in revenues, which would blow a gigantic hole in this so-called infrastructure package. So isn't that like a big problem? I mean, I like big problems to stop this infrastructure, but wouldn't that be a killer?
Yeah, I don't know how the parliamentarian will rule, but look, we know what they're up to. We've been talking to them, and Shelley Moore Capito from West Virginia, I've asked to take the lead on this, about doing an infrastructure bill that's really about infrastructure. Roads, bridges, ports, water lines, sewer lines, broadband, something we can all agree is infrastructure, and then talking about how to pay for it. But what I've said, Larry, and I know you'll agree with this, is that we're not revisiting the 2017 tax reform bill. It was the single most important, other than judges, the single most important thing we did for the country in the last 4 years. It produced the best economy in 50 years by February of 2020, right before the pandemic hit. So we're not going to touch that. That's what the president wants to blow the lid off of, as you outlined earlier. Take corporate tax rates up, individual business rates up. By the way, a new death tax that would capture and tax your capital gains throughout your life that are currently exempt in your estate at the time of death. They want to raise everybody's taxes. It won't just be people making $400,000 or more.
So yeah, let me know your thoughts on that down below in the comments. By the way, that is former White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow from the Trump administration interviewing Mitch McConnell there. As you see, they're talking about a new proposal to give the IRS $80 billion to hire a whole bunch of new people to then enforce the tax laws more stricter. And they say that that will be able to claw $700 or $800 billion out of people's pockets because they owe the IRS money. And there's a lot of controversy over this, including that the IRS might be able to go directly into your bank account without your authorization, as well as just to look at all your transactions. And if that becomes law, I think that that would probably become the norm, because I feel like if we give the government the opportunity to look at everybody's bank transactions, they're probably just going to set it up with the banks where they would literally download all your bank transactions for everybody in the US. Because again, if they're allowed to do it, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't do it. And they'd probably just set up automated systems with the banks itself, that the banks would be required to basically give billions and billions of records directly to the IRS on a monthly basis. So it's a very controversial bill. Now, it would provide, at least what the Biden administration says, $700 to $800 billion per year. The IRS Chief Commissioner Charles Rettig says that it's actually up to as high as $1 trillion per year that the IRS is owed that they don't get paid on. And they can use this money for stimulus checks, the next stimulus package, and really ongoing programs, because it's up to $1 trillion every single year. So year after year, there's a trillion, a trillion, a trillion, a trillion that the IRS is owed that they aren't able to collect on or don't collect on because they just don't have enough manpower and kind of legalities where they can literally just go and take it from you and or just look at your transactions at any given time. Very controversial bill. Let me know your thoughts on this down below in the comments. The Republicans and the Democrats are supposed to be meeting again today over the infrastructure package. I do think there's a decent chance of getting a bipartisan deal done for the American Jobs Plan, which will create millions of jobs and will help our economy get back on track. It'll get millions of people back to work. If the Democrats are willing to come down, the Democrats are currently over $2 trillion. The Republicans have gone as high as $800 billion. I think if the Democrats, and I say if because they haven't given us any indication if they started high on purpose as part of negotiation tactics, but really are willing to come down a lot. If they're willing to do that and come down to around $1 trillion, I think the Democrats and the Republicans will find a way to make a deal on this next infrastructure package. Really, the main discussions are a couple details, finite details on what infrastructure is. I think they can ultimately settle that. There's a few things that like Democrats want to throw in there that Republicans don't want. I don't think that's a deal breaker, but I think probably the harder issue to do it is how to pay for it. And I think there's probably a 50-50 chance that this next infrastructure package and the next stimulus package, the American Families Plan, I think there's a 50-50 chance that both of them won't get paid for at all, or maybe some minor tax increases. They have all sorts of different propositions like this IRS proposal, as well as forcing pharmaceutical companies to give us prescription drugs and the government the same prescription prices that they give it to other countries for. Bernie Sanders says that can save us up to $500 billion per year. I think that's something that should be done because they don't need to raise taxes on anybody, corporations, people, inheritances, or anything, and can get us $500 billion per year. But remember, the past 6 stimulus packages, yes, former President Donald Trump passed 5 stimulus packages. Only 2 of them had checks. The other 3 had other miscellaneous items like money for the vaccines, money for Paycheck Protection Program, and other stimulus programs. And President Biden's 1 stimulus package, no taxes were raised on that. No, there were 6 packages passed, and there was no taxes raised. So it's a very real possibility that this could happen for the next upcoming several packages as well. President Biden wants to raise taxes. He wanted to raise taxes even before he came in office. He thinks that corporations and the wealthy, what he calls the 1%, should have to pay their fair share in taxes, or in this case, pay more in taxes. Now we're getting almost by the day brand new stimulus programs or stimulus type programs, free money programs, whatever you want to call them, being announced on the state and county and city levels. Okay. First of all, we're seeing a bunch of programs come out for people that are vaccinated or that could be vaccinated, that literally the states want to give you free money. Which is a very interesting program. Just a few weeks ago, this didn't even exist. And we're also seeing programs announced on the state level where you can literally receive your next stimulus check from the states. For example, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has announced a new Vax and Scratch program providing lottery tickets with prizes up to $5 million. This is directly from his website here, governor.ny.gov. This is just for New York. We'll get to some more programs here in a moment. Individuals vaccinated at one of 10 state mass vaccination sites will receive a free $20 New York State lottery scratch off tickets. Sites located in central New York, Finger Lakes, Long Island, all these different New York regions, New York City, that get vaccinated between May 24th and May 28th will receive a lottery ticket basically from New York, which has a grand prize. Let me zoom in here of $5 million. So one person that gets vaccinated between the 24th and the 28th will receive a lottery ticket that has a $5 million prize from New York State. Wow. They have all sorts of other prizes in there from, I believe, $20 up to $50,000 per person. Now, this comes after kind of Ohio started this initial lottery vaccine stimulus type program, as Ohio was the first one to announce it. 5 different winners, if you've been vaccinated, will be for $1 million prizes, will go out to 5 different people, so $5 million, as well as a handful of free full-time 4-year scholarships for Ohio residents if you've been vaccinated. And Maryland Republican Governor Larry Hogan has announced a lottery that will randomly select a Maryland vaccinated resident for a $40,000 prize every single day, with a grand prize of $400,000 on July 4th. So, yeah, apparently being vaccinated could get you a lot of money in your pocket. Now that's just vaccine stimulus programs. I guess they're kind of coming out because Ohio announced theirs, and they've seen a large uptick in vaccination rates. So I think we're going to see more states following. That's just if you're vaccinated. Let me go to the next fourth stimulus check program, which is for everybody that qualifies for a stimulus check. So if you got the first, second, and third, you'd likely qualify for the fourth. Then we'll go to some more state programs that can literally get you free money, and that's for not people not being vaccinated, just state programs that are coming out with stimulus programs. We've had major news come out within the last like 48 hours or so on a fourth stimulus check update today, 2021. President Biden has been urged by the U.S. House of Representatives Ways and Means Committee, as you can see here, to pass recurring monthly stimulus payments during the crisis, and that more checks could keep millions out of poverty. This also comes as Democratic woman Pramila Jayapal, who is the leader of the Democratic Progressive Caucus, came out yesterday with a new resolution to end poverty in multiple different ways, provide housing and possibly senior benefits, as well as a reaffirmation on her $1,000 monthly stimulus check program. This is really starting to heat up. It's really starting to get a lot of momentum for a fourth stimulus check. We have almost 100 different Democrats that are now in favor of not just the fourth stimulus check, but monthly stimulus checks. Representative Jayapal, who's the leader of the Progressive Caucus, which is actually very big. It's about half of the Democrats in the U.S. House of Representatives. It's it's around 100 or more Democrats. So basically, if the Progressive Caucus wants something, they get it, because it's so many Democrats that without them, they can't pass a single bill. Remember, to pass the next stimulus package through the reconciliation process, which is how they're likely going to pass the next stimulus package. The reconciliation process just makes it so that you only need 50 or 51 votes in the Senate, which the Democrats can do, and is exactly how they passed the third stimulus check package, and is likely how they're going to pass the next stimulus package. But to do that, they need to make all the Democratic representatives happy. Now, I know that might seem hard to do, but they're able to do it time and time again. At the end of the day, all of the Democrats end up falling in line as long as they're all pretty much on the same page. And we have almost half of the Democrats in the House of Representatives alone pushing for a monthly stimulus check for the fourth stimulus check. There's two different proposals. Is number one, the bill from the Senate, co-sponsored by Senator Ed Markey and Elizabeth Warren, for $2,000 monthly stimulus checks that would go until the pandemic is over. So think maybe 6 months, a little bit more, a little bit less. For the Senate plan. The House of Representative plan, co-sponsored by Representative Tlaib and Representative Jayapal, is for a one-time $2,000 stimulus check to get people caught up, and then $1,000 monthly payments that would go until 1 year after the pandemic is declared over. So you'd be looking at least 1 year plus several months of monthly stimulus checks. This is what the Democrats want. These are actual bills introduced, as you can see here, introduced in the House and the Senate. And really, the Democrats can include anything they want in this next stimulus package, the American Families Plan, because it's probably a 95 to 99% chance that they're going to pass it completely on their own through the reconciliation process. And that's really just because there's no Republican support for more stimulus items. There wasn't for the third stimulus check as well. Even though the Republicans passed 5 different packages underneath President Trump, and Republican leader Mitch McConnell, in fact, as early as last December, which is right before Biden came in January, all of a sudden when Biden became president, they really just don't want to pass any more stimulus items. So it's kind of what I call Republican standoff because, again, they passed 5 packages underneath President Trump. It's just not realistic to think that President Biden is going to come in and pass no stimulus packages. Again, they passed it in December, literally a month before Biden came in. So it's not like things drastically changed there within a few weeks. And it's just not realistic to think that President Biden is not going to be passing his own stimulus packages when President Trump passed 5 of them. So I think the Democrats are going to be forced to use the reconciliation process for the next stimulus package known as the American Families Plan. I think there's about a 50-50 chance they can get the infrastructure package done without the reconciliation process. They can just do it with a bipartisan support, Republican and Democrats. And they only need 10 Republicans on board in the Senate to pass a bill in the Senate. With Republican support. So that would leave an additional reconciliation card for a month or two from now, as the Senate parliamentarian has already ruled they can pass 2 packages or 2 bills this year, this fiscal year, basically up until October. Then they can pass even more through the reconciliation process. The Democrats only have about a year and a half until the next election when everybody from the House of Representatives is up for re-election again, as well as 1/3 of the Senate. And if the Democrats lose even a single seat in the Senate or a few seats, just a couple in the House of Representatives, they could lose the majority. And if they lose the majority in either one, they won't be able to pass bills completely on their own because the Republicans would have the majority in either the House or the Senate. So really, the Democrats have the next year to year and a half to pass everything on their agenda, including more stimulus checks, the Social Security increases that they want to do. They have 3 different proposals, $200 a month raise for all Social Security recipients, $279 a month raise for SSI and possibly SSDI, as well as President Biden himself's raise of all Social Security programs to get a minimum of $1,341, as well as they want to increase Medicare coverage to include hearing, dental, vision, and hearing aids completely for free, no additional charges or anything like that, as well as lowering the Medicare eligibility age to age 60 or age 55. And they have all sorts of creative ways that they can pass these packages even without any tax raises. Remember, they can pass these packages without any tax raises at all, but President Biden just wants to raise more revenue, which kind of makes sense, especially if you can do it without taxing people, like you can do it from forcing pharmaceutical companies to give us prescription drugs at the same price as other countries. That's $500 billion a year alone. And maybe the IRS tax rules of basically just collecting the money that's owed to the IRS without some of the controversial stuff, like they can go in your bank account and just download all your transactions for everybody in the US. That's probably not very good, but maybe they just collect the money that's owed to them. Yeah, it's a pretty controversial bill. But both of those would basically be billions or even trillions of dollars without having to raise any taxes. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I'll keep you up to date on everything stimulus related, as well as what's going on with our country today. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on new updates and new stimulus programs for you and your family. There's also a share button down below. You can share this video on your Facebook timeline or your Facebook profile. You can share it on Twitter. You can send a message to your mom or dad or your family and tell them about these the channel here and these different stimulus programs. I'll keep you up to date on all of them. You can click here to watch President Biden's most recent statement about Social Security increases, and you can click here to see about the most recent state stimulus checks coming out. Click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.